Welcome to today's Explainer. We are unpacking a truly massive geopolitical and economic shift that's hitting the Ontario-Michigan waste corridor right now, and exactly how Edge AI is stepping in to solve it. If you've been following the latest year-to-date headline news out of Washington, tracking the USMCA tariffs, or watching the municipal solid waste export routes, well, you know this border crossing is under intense pressure. We're looking at a situation where millions of tons of MSW disposal shipped from Ontario, Canada, directly into U.S.-Michigan landfills are suddenly caught in this crazy crossfire of changing regulations and heavy tariffs. But out of this chaos emerges a really fascinating solution known as the Sentient Bridge, the 905 Wood Digital Refinery. By operationalizing this cutting-edge technology, Ontario can actually secure its industrial leadership in the global circular bioeconomy. We have a lot of ground to cover, so let's get into it. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the imminent waste cliff, move into geopolitics and border tariffs, then look at the Sentient Bridge architecture, AI at the compliance gate, hazardous verification and isolation, and finally, yielding the carbon dividend. Starting with Section 1, the imminent waste cliff. Now, get a load of this statistic. Right now, Michigan imports a staggering 3.46 million tons of trash from Ontario annually. Just to put that into perspective, Ontario trash imports account for over 14% of all waste disposed of in Michigan landfills. It is a massive disposal pipeline, and it's entirely dependent on an open, frictionless border. To really understand the technology we're going to explore today, we first have to wrap our heads around the sheer physical and financial volume of this municipal solid waste moving across the border every single day. So you might be wondering, why does this corridor even exist at this scale? Well, it all comes down to extreme economic arbitrage. The tipping fee floor price in the Greater Toronto Area is about $189.86 per ton. Meanwhile, on the Michigan Accept side, it's merely 36 cents. Yeah, you heard that right, 36 cents. This incredibly fragile dependency is driven on one side by Ontario Premier Doug Ford's Bill 5, which pushes for landfill expansion as a sort of hedge against border closures. On the other side, U.S. Commerce Clause protections currently keep this cross-border flow completely legal. But relying on a $189 to 36 cent price gap across an international border, that is an incredibly risky game to play. Moving on to Section 2, geopolitics and border tariffs. The clock is literally ticking, and this timeline illustrates exactly what businesses are up against. First, on January 1st, 2026, we're looking at the blue box collapse, where traditional municipal recycling for commercial businesses essentially ends, forcing everyone into private sector solutions. Then, looming right behind it on August 19th, 2026, is a severe 50% duty under the resurrected Section 338 of the Trade Act of 1974, which was initiated by the Washington administration under Donald Trump. And if that wasn't enough pressure, we are staring down the barrel of the 2034 domestic capacity cliff, which is the total exhaustion of Ontario's domestic clay-lined landfill capacity. It's a high-stakes timeline for sure. So how do businesses survive this? Enter what's known as the USMCA firewall, or CUSMA if you're up in Canada. By securing a Chapter 4 classification, specifically HS3825.0 for wholly obtained materials, companies can actually ensure that their diverted wood remains entirely tariff-exempt. This is absolutely crucial. It's the regulatory lifeline businesses need to survive that impending 50% duty and avoid devastating, downright business-ending border seizures. Which brings us to Section 3, the Sentient Bridge architecture. This is where the tech gets really cool. The architecture of the 905 Wood Digital Refinery is brilliant in its autonomy. Acting as the orchestration nexus at agent905wood.com, it uses secure databases to create a unified digital twin for every single material load. Google's Vertex AI acts as the brain of the operation, seamlessly coordinating the entire workflow. It handles everything from an automated request for quote structured intake to lock-in rates, all the way down to event-driven triggers that dispatch those massive 144-yard transport trucks. And the most important feature here? Zero human intervention required. It completely removes human error from this wildly complex logistics chain, acting as a true sentient bridge between chaotic construction waste and the incredibly strict demands of the biocarbon market. Let's look at Section 4, AI at the compliance gate. Now, what's really interesting about this is that the frontline defense runs entirely on a device you might actually have in your pocket, the Google Pixel 10 Pro.
Running Android 16 and operationalizing the LightArt AI stack, it uses a lightweight AI model, the Gemma 4e2b, to evaluate material purity in under 500 milliseconds. But hey, waste is messy, right? If the wood is weathered and the AI isn't completely sure, landing in that ambiguous 70 to 85% amber band, it instantly escalates to a heavier, more powerful 4.5 billion parameter model right there on the device. This acts as a visual fallacy guard, ensuring absolutely only clean wood gets through the gate.
But once the AI makes a decision, it has to be legally binding. This is achieved through an ingenious hold-to-seal cryptographic protocol. The operator literally just holds a button for 2 seconds on the Pixel 10 Pro. Step 1 invokes the phone's hardware-level Titan M2 secure element. Step 2 seals the exact AI model version used, along with the kernel hash, to prove the operating system wasn't tampered with. Step 3 seals the GPS coordinates down to a single meter, along with an exact timestamp. Finally, Step 4 writes this cryptographic envelope to a highly secure, privacy-compliant AlloDB ledger in Montreal. This creates an unalterable, court-admissible proof of compliance that completely protects businesses from retroactive regulatory fines. Moving into Section 5, Hazardous Verification and Isolation. This quote right here really outlines the core philosophy of the 905 Wood Digital Refinery, the precautionary principle. Essentially, guilty until proven innocent. The system simply assumes all materials are hazardous until proven safe. And to prove them safe, the refinery doesn't just guess. It uses rigorous physical scientific hardware. By shooting near-infrared light and X-rays directly at the wood fibers, it scans for hidden heavy metals that standard visual cameras simply cannot see. These sensors are hunting for specific, microscopic, toxic limits outlined in Ontario regulations. We're talking strict toxicological limits. If hidden arsenic exceeds 2.5 milligrams per liter, or if lead or chromium pass the 5.0 mark, the system's action is immediate and absolute: auto-reject. And what happens when that auto-reject is triggered? The system autonomously revokes the clean wood routing on the spot. It instantly pings provincial databases to generate a digital hazardous waste manifest, ensuring that contaminated material is handled by specialized carriers and never, ever pollutes the main biocarbon supply chain. It's a completely automated fail-safe. And finally, Section 6, Yielding the Carbon Dividend. Let's see how this builds into real money. $1,053.23. That is the direct savings for a single 144-yard mothership trailer load just from avoiding the Ontario landfill levy. Because the AI and the spectroscopy have explicitly verified the load as pristine clean wood, it qualifies for a $5 per ton levy, completely sidestepping that heavy $60 per ton mixed waste penalty. And this brilliantly illustrates the financial transformation at play here. Shorting the landfill creates massive corporate value. Sending a mixed waste liability to the dump carries a heavy $1,149 cost per load. But by converting it to a clean wood asset, your cost plummets to just $96. Then, that verified wood undergoes high-temperature pyrolysis, turning into a stable carbon dividend with a conservative book asset value of over $2,700. You have literally turned a costly waste liability into a high-margin financial asset. All of this incredibly complex tech, the AI, the spectroscopy, it all results in a beautifully simple UI/UX output. The customer receives a straightforward PDF documentation features package. They get a 9-point USMCA Shield Certificate of Origin proving their tariff-free transit, automated electronic manifests functioning as a service, a zero-levy report card detailing their exact savings, and secure digital links to their verified carbon credits. It is explainable, transparent compliance seamlessly delivered. So, as borders tighten, as tariffs like Section 338 loom on the horizon, and as domestic landfills completely run out of space, the old ways of simply paying to dump mixed waste are ending. You have to ask yourself, will your business crash over the 2034 capacity cliff? Or will you operationalize the Sentient Bridge, transforming your waste liabilities into verified financial assets? Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive explainer. Keep learning, keep innovating, and I'll see you next time.